Okay, so welcome guys. In essence, today's video is about the Recyclerview and how it's actually such a hustle to just get a list working. So in every app you have a list, some sort of scrollable list with items, and in that list you want to be able to first of all click on each item, maybe get it expanded a bit, but each time you click an item you also want it to send you to a details fragment or details page. To do that you need no less than I think 4 files. So you need your fragment or activity class, you need an adapter class, and inside that adapter class you need not only the adapter but a view holder, and you need to create and bind that view holder. And on top of that you need the layout file for your screen, so either your fragment or your display or your activity. And inside that layout file you need to add a Recyclerview, but to get each item for the Recyclerview it needs its own layout. So that's 4 files and a ton of code, several hundred lines if you ask me of code, just to get a scrollable list working. And that's not even with the functionality of touch sensing, so gesture detection like tapping, long press, swiping. You can't do that. You need even more code to get that working. And then obviously you need your dataset to come from somewhere, either a database from the internet, either to come from a database stored on the phone, the internet, or wherever. A while back, 3 months ago, the Android team came up with Jetpack Compose, and one of the ways you use Jetpack Compose is what we call a lazy column. So all this code on this page, which is just about 120 lines, including white spaces and curly braces, is what we will use to get not only this list scrollable, this list in the preview scrollable, but also we're going to get it to respond to touches, so taps. So first thing you would do, I'm assuming this video is assuming that you've implemented the Recyclerview before. If you haven't, then first go learn how to implement the Recyclerview, then come back and watch this one. It'll make more sense that way. But essentially this is less than a quarter of the code that you need to implement. Of course there's imports here, there's imports here for Jetpack Compose things, and it's quite a lot. One of the things I don't like about Compose. Yeah, okay, so let's first go through the code. Here we have our main content for the app. So we give it a theme, and then we give it a surface and give the color of cyan, and then inside that surface we have the content. The content is another composable function called myScreenContent. So we have my app, and that accepts a content which is of type composable. So here our content is myScreenContent, which is a composable function here. Now inside this function we have a list, just a simple list here, and it's of size 1000, the data type list. And then we also have this string. This string is hello world number it, so it referring to the list itself, the instance of that the item, the individual item in the list. So then we have a counter, and the counter state is set to 0 by default, and we use remember so that we remember that state. Now we create a column, and then inside that column we are going to add all our items. So first of all we're going to add the names list, so all the items in the list, and give it a weight. And then we have our counter, so think of it as just looping through the list and giving it giving our counter state a new value, giving it the total count of items. Okay, this is getting very long and dragged out. Now names list is another composable function. So now you're seeing composable functions call other composable functions. Now inside this name list itself, it takes a list and a modifier. Now we have a lazy column. So now not a normal column but a lazy column. A lazy column is what allows Compose to be able to scroll up and down. So a list, so the list is bigger than our window, our screen, and the elements of the screen. So essentially just this single line lazy column, let me just say this block, this tiny block, which is what, 5 lines, is the entirety of the recycler view. So your layouts, your adapter, your view holders, both creating and binding, and setting on-click listeners is all done. Okay, not setting on-click listeners, but all that is done in this block of just 5 lines. So inside we have a greeting. A greeting is another composable object, a composable function, and then a divider, which is just a black line. This is just basically the greeting, and it's just hello and name, blah blah blah. That's not really important. Then we have here our counter, which is just basically keeping track of how many, the number of times a button is clicked. So now, one more cool thing that this does is here in the greeting, the background color of each greeting, which is each row, is by default transparent. Now we have a boolean called is selected, and by default it's set to false. So when it's false, the background color is transparent, so we see the cyan. But if it's selected, the background color changes to red. Now that's our on-click listener, and there's a bit of work to do here to get it all to work, but overall this is basically it. So we have a scrollable list that listens to taps on each item, and not only that, it also listens to how many times a button is clicked through this composable function counter, which is itself contains a button, and it first of all takes a count. It takes 2 parameters, a count and an update count. Update count basically just is a function that just gets the current count and increments it by 1. And if the count is greater than 5, then the button color changes to green, else the button color is white. Alright, to the emulator. So here it is, it's working. So see, through 120 lines of code, we have a list of 1,000 items, and not only that, I can tap on each item, and each time I tap on it, the background color changes. But not only that, the background color changes via an animation. So here, this line of code, val background color by animated color state. So it'll animate the transition between the two colors, between transparent and red, and make it smooth. So if you notice, it's animated and it looks pleasing. And then we have our little button here. It says it's been clicked once, twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times. Greater than 5, it changes to green. And that's the beauty of Jetpack Compose. Never again do you have to suffer creating an adapter and all that nonsense. Even if you're not using Jetpack Compose in your entire app, you can just use it for the screens that need scrollable lists. And that's it from me. If you found this video helpful in any way, please like, subscribe, and do all the YouTubey things. And I will see you in the next video.